Welcome to this week's tarot tutorial where I break down the hidden messages and meaning of the tarot one card at a time in a simple bite-sized way. These videos are designed for you to participate and actively learn tarot, creating a keepsake reference book by the end of the series. I'm Heather, and whether this is your first time visiting my channel or you are a long-time subscriber, thank you for joining the pack. In today's video, we will be breaking down the symbolism and interpretation of devil. Okay, so for today's card, we have our devil card here. I'm going to glue it down, but I'm also using a red pen. It is representing fire and hell, and not sure I can say that on YouTube, but I just did. Okay, so the devil card, I'm going to stick the devil right down here and in the center. Okay. Okay, so there is our devil card. So when we look at the devil card, for the description here, we see a devil here. And this is a horned devil with the head of a goat and the upper body of a man and then the lower body of a goat. And he has bat-like wings. He has an inverted pentagram here on the forehead or above his head, and his gaze is very intense here. He stands on a podium, or he's crouched down on this podium, and one hand is raised, one hand is lowered, and the lowered hand has this torch, and the fire is facing down towards the ground. In front of the devil are two people, a woman and a man, and they are both naked, and they both are chained to the podium. The chain is draped loosely around their necks, and they each have horns, and then they each have a tail. The man has a tail of fire and the woman has a tail with grapes. Okay. So we're going to start with the devil figure itself. So the devil figure, I'm going to put devil. I'm just turning my book sideways. It's easier for me to write. I want to make sure that you guys can see it. Devil figure. Okay, so the devil figure here, the devil is often depicted as a fallen angel or a beast, representing temptation, bondage, the shadow self, and his image serves as a reminder of the darker forces that we can encounter in life, both externally and internally, and also signifies being trapped by desires and impulses that are not beneficial to us. So, let's see, represents... So devil figure, temptation, bondage, shadow self. And there's a lot of things I'm going to be talking about, so make sure you're writing small. Shadow self reminds us that darker forces encountered internally / externally and trapped by desires and impulses not beneficial. Okay, and then we have the chains. We're going to talk about the chains that are around the man and the woman and draped around their necks. So the chained figures symbolize the idea of entrapment. So how people may feel bound by their own desires, their fears, their addictions, or negative patterns. And interestingly, that the chains are loose. So this indicates that the figures are free to break free at any point in time, but they are being held down by their own attachment to the material world, to emotional baggage and emotional bondages. So this suggests a feeling of being stuck or powerless to change one's circumstances. So I'm just going to put chains, feeling powerless to change. And I'm going to also put entrapment. Bound by fears, addictions, desires, negative patterns. Oh, just squish that in there. Okay. Loose equals up to us to break free. Okay. And then we have the man and the woman. So this represents duality and human nature. Their tails and horns symbolize animalistic and the instinctual side of humans, and their bondage suggests that they are trapped and enslaved by their base desires and instincts. So man and woman. And again, duality and human nature. I'm going to put horns and tails, animalistic, instinctive, side, and enslaved by desires / instincts. Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly talk about, because we're talking about the man and woman, the tails. So the man's tail is made of fire and hers is made of grapes. So I'm just going to put tails dash fire / grapes. Okay, so the tails represent passion and indulgence. So fire is this destructive passion, while grapes are indulgence and excess. So combined, these emphasize the dangers of succumbing to uncontrolled desires. So I'm just going to put fire equals passion, grapes equals indulgence. And then this is, they represent together succumbing to uncontrolled desires. And then we're going to talk about the inverted pentagram that is above the devil, or like between the horns there. And the inverted pentagram represents reversed spiritual energy and materialism, that one is too focused on materialism and earthly desires instead of spiritual growth. So I'm just going to put it over here, inverted pentagram. Focused on material. And earthly desires. I'm going to put out of touch with spirituality. Okay. And then we're going to look at the torch held downwards by the devil, as often seen as a symbol of false illumination. So it's lighting the way to darkness rather than true enlightenment. So this suggests that illusion of freedom, when in fact it is leading to more restriction and limitation, and that one needs to face one's own negative traits and confront them. So it's facing your shadow self and confronting it and dealing with it. So torch held downwards. So again, this is false illumination. Leading to darkness. So illusion of freedom when in fact leading to restriction, limitation, and must confront shadow self. Okay. Okay, and then we are looking at the bat wings that the devil is sporting. New fashion statement. So the bat wings represent darkness and light, the nocturnal and hidden nature of the issues at hand. They represent the fears and desires that come out in the darkness and need to be acknowledged and addressed. So bat wings. So they're actual bat wings, not, you know, these bat wings that are often sported in older age. So bat wings, so darkness and night, hidden nature of issues at hand. Fears and desires that come out in the dark to be addressed. Okay. And then we have the look on the devil. So this intense gaze of the devil. So this represents piercing insight and temptation, symbolizing the power of temptation and the allure of material and physical pleasures. This suggests that there's a need for vigilance due to the seductive nature of temptation. So I'm going to put this up here. Piercing gaze. Okay, so the piercing gaze, it represents insight and temptation. The power of temptation and allure of material pleasures, physical pleasures. So need for vigilance due to seductive nature of temptation. Okay. And now we're going to get into the numerology. So the number here with the devil, associated with the devil, is the number 15. And the number 15, I'm just going to write numerology. And number 15. So the number 15 is associated with materialism and bondage, but also liberation, transformation, and self-awareness. The number 15 represents the challenges that we must face in order to become aware of the chains that bind us, whether they are external or self-imposed. So there's this underlying opportunity for freedom and transcendence even with these chains and challenges. So materialism and bondage, and I'm going to put "and" in capitals, and liberation, transformation, self-awareness. Challenges we face to become aware of the chains that bind. And then opportunity for freedom and transcendence. Because once we become aware of the chains that bind us, then we can do something about it, right? Then at that point, it's up to us to actually take action, and a corrective course action to overcome that. So now we're going to look at the astrology. And with the astrology, devil is associated with Capricorn. And Capricorn is associated with, or represents, ambition, materialism, the darker sides of discipline and restriction, control. So anything that is, those rules and regulations and authority. So anything that kind of keeps us from having that freedom. So that is Capricorn energy. So I'm going to put materialism. It's structure as well. Structure. It's also ambition. See, but then when we get and ambition can be a good thing, but when we're looking at it with the devil and the devil card in mind, then this becomes almost like blind ambition, or ambition that has now consumed and taken control. So I'm going to still write ambition. Discipline, restriction, and control. And I'm going to just put dash the darker sides of these. Okay. And now we're going to get into the interpretation. So I'm just going to put interpretation up here. So the interpretation of the devil card is that it represents temptation, materialism, addiction, and the shadow aspects of ourselves. It warns of being controlled by desires or external forces that can keep us imprisoned in unhealthy cycles. However, it also offers the opportunity to break free from these chains, realizing that the power to liberate yourself lies within. This card challenges you to confront your own fears, attachments, and limitations. I'm just going to move this down because I want to make sure that you can see it. Let's see. Okay, so temptation, materialism, addiction, shadow aspect of self. Again, it warns of being controlled. So I'm putting controlled by desires / external forces keeping us imprisoned in unhealthy cycles. But again, it also offers opportunity to break free from chains once realizing the power, my spelling's horrible today, lies within. Okay. Challenges you to confront your fears. Attachments. And attachments can be to patterned behaviors, to people, to things. There's so many different kinds of attachments. And limitations. And limitations, they can be so many different things too, right? That can be a limitation that's based on like fear, but even lack of confidence, lack of self-worth. So there's so many different ways that this can translate and play out. So when we're looking at a career reading, when you see the devil come up, this represents accomplishment. So this is where it can be a good thing in some ways, right? Because this is accomplishment in your career, recognition in your career, that determination to climb that corporate ladder. But here's the downside. It usually comes at a cost to other areas of your life because there's this obsession about work and materialistic desires. So this person tends to be a workaholic where they are so focused on work that their spirituality, their relationships, their connections with others are all forgotten because the focus is solely on the material world. And then when we look at relationships and relationship readings, when the devil appears, this indicates that the relationship is one of convenience for financial security, or that one or both of the individuals feel trapped, or that they cannot grow or flourish in the relationship, or that the relationship, it's actually toxic, codependent, or one or both of the individuals are obsessive towards each other. So the relationship may also be focused on sex or physical pleasures without any of the emotional attachment. And then when we look at a health reading, when the devil appears, this indicates that the person may have an addiction of sorts. So this could be either to medicines, to substance abuse, to unhealthy lifestyle, or even patterns. So shopaholic, workaholic, those kinds of things. And it can also represent exhaustion from being overworked. And that would be an example of someone who's a workaholic. When devil appears reversed, so I'm just going to write reversed. When devil appears reversed, this indicates that the person is open to exploring alternative paths in pursuit of fulfillment. So the chains around the man and woman's necks are less restrictive, they're weaker, as the devil reverse suggests that this person is ready and willing to discard the old habits and beliefs in favor of the new, and the person is ready for real growth and transformation. So the negative aspects of devil are lessened when it is reversed. And you find that a lot of times with some of the more negative cards, or the cards that are a little bit darker, is that side of them is lessened when they come up reversed. So reversed, open to exploring alternative paths to pursue fulfillment. And I'm going to put chains less restrictive / weaker, and person willing to discard behaviors, addictions, beliefs, for real growth and transformation. Okay. Okay. And there we go. There we have the devil. Oh, there we go.